The year is 1609. Pál Báthory, a young man of noble bearing, practices his swordsmanship in the courtyard of Čachtice Castle. He is not a warrior by nature, but it is expected of him. His world is one of immense privilege, structured by duty and the weight of his family name, one of the most powerful in the Kingdom of Hungary. His mother, the Countess Erzsébet Báthory, is a distant but formidable presence, currently residing at her estate in Čachtice. He knows her as stern, intelligent, and obsessed with the family's power and prestige. She is a pillar of their world. A steward, his face pale and slick with sweat despite the cool morning, interrupts him. He carries a sealed letter, not from his mother, but from his future father-in-law, György Thurzó, the Palatine of Hungary. The steward avoids Pál's gaze, handing him the parchment with a trembling hand. The letter is brief, its language formal yet laced with an unsettling urgency. It speaks of grave and troubling reports from the villages surrounding Čachtice and a necessary investigation to protect the honor of both their families. Pál dismisses it as political maneuvering. His mother has countless enemies who covet her vast lands. These are merely the whispers of peasants, amplified by rivals. He crumples the letter slightly in his fist, annoyed by the interruption and the steward's cowardice. He feels a flicker of unease, but pushes it down. The Bathory name is inviolable. Weeks later, György Thurzó arrives not with a retinue of soldiers, but with a small party of magistrates and a single, grim-faced priest. The meeting takes place in a grand, wood-paneled study. Pál and his uncles stand on one side, a wall of defiant nobility. Thurzó, a man whose political acumen is legendary, is not accusatory. He is sorrowful. He speaks not of murder, but of grievous sins and a darkness that has taken root at Čachtice. He presents a ledger. It is not a financial record, but a list of names. Girls, dozens of them from local villages, all listed as having entered service at Čachtice Castle and never returned. Beside each name is a date and a notation from a local priest or village elder. Pál scoffs, declaring them runaways or victims of bandits. "The roads are unsafe, my lord Palatine," Pál says, his voice colder than he intended. Thurzó meets his gaze, his eyes filled with a weary pity that infuriates Pál more than any accusation. "We are not speaking of the roads, young Pál," Thurzó says softly. "We are speaking of the castle itself. We have testimony." The word hangs in the air, heavy and poisonous. This is no longer a land dispute. It is something far more intimate and horrifying. Thurzó does not need Pál's permission. He has the king's authority. He sends men to Čachtice. The reports that come back are not whispers anymore. They are a torrent. But the turning point for Pál is not a document. It is a person. Thurzó arranges for him to hear the testimony of a woman named Zuzana, a villager who escaped Čachtice. She is not brought to the castle but to a neutral location, a small chapel. She is gaunt, her eyes hollowed out by terror. She does not speak of bloodbaths or vanity. She speaks of the cold. She describes being forced to stand naked in the snow as the countess doused her and other girls with water until they froze to the cobblestones. She describes the casual, almost bored cruelty of it all. Pál listens, his hands clenched on the wooden pew, his knuckles white. He tries to see the liar in her, the paid performer. But her terror is too authentic. Her shivering is not from the cold in the chapel. It is a memory, etched into her very soul. For the first time, the foundation of Pál's world cracks, and through it, he sees a glimpse of an abyss. He sees a version of his mother he cannot comprehend. The dam breaks. His mother's chief servants are captured and interrogated. Dorochents's Ilona Joe and the disfigured János Ujjari, known as Fixco. Pál is not allowed to witness the interrogations, which he knows involve torture, but he is presented with the signed confessions. He reads them in the dead of night, the papers shaking in his hand. They are not coherent narratives but frantic, desperate outpourings of horror. They corroborate Zuzana's story and add layers of depravity he could never have imagined. Needles under fingernails, biting off chunks of flesh, starvation. The confessions are filled with self-preservation, each accomplice blaming the Countess and the others. But amidst the lies, a single horrifying truth emerges, repeated in all their accounts. The Countess took pleasure in it. It was not for beauty, not for youth, but for the simple, ecstatic joy of inflicting pain. Pál feels a wave of nausea. He stumbles to a basin and retches. He is not just reading about a monster. He is reading about his mother, the woman who taught him his letters, the woman whose lullabies he vaguely remembers. The two images refuse to coexist in his mind, creating a violent, psychological schism. The evidence is overwhelming. The accomplices are swiftly tried and brutally executed. But Countess Erzsébet Báthory, the principal architect of the horror, will not face a public court. Pál learns this from a grim-faced Thurzó. A public trial would be a catastrophe. The Palatine explains, his voice low, to put a Bathory in the dock? To air this filth before the world. It would stain the nobility, weaken the kingdom, and forever tarnish your name, and the king's, who is in your family's debt. Pál understands the cold, brutal calculus. This is not about justice anymore. It is about containment. His mother's guilt is so immense that the system cannot process it. Her punishment will be a political solution, not a legal one. She will be declared dead to the world. Her name will be struck from records, her existence confined to the stones of her own castle. Pál feels a strange, hollow relief mixed with profound shame. His family will be spared public ruin, but at the cost of true closure. His mother will not be judged. She will simply be erased. Pál travels to Cactus one last time. He is not permitted to see his mother. From the courtyard below, he watches as masons work on the upper floor of the residential tower. They are not repairing the castle. They are sealing it. With methodical precision, they brick up the windows and the door to his mother's chambers, leaving only a small slit for food and water. The rhythmic scrape of trowel on mortar and the dull thud of brick against stone are the only sounds in the unervingly silent castle. The servants are gone, the guards are new, and a pall of death hangs over the place. Pál stands there for hours, watching the wall grow higher, entombing his living mother. He feels nothing of the love a son should feel, nor the righteous hatred a victim's family might. He feels only a profound, empty disconnect. The woman being walled inside is a stranger, a creature from the confessions. The mother he knew is a ghost, already long dead. The mason's work is not an imprisonment. It is the construction of a tombstone. The Countess is gone, but her wealth remains. Pál is now the de jure head of his branch of the family, but in reality, he is just another scavenger picking at the carcass of his mother's legacy. He spends months in meetings with lawyers and royal officials. Relatives he barely knows emerge from the woodwork, all claiming a piece of the confiscated lands and treasures. The king, conveniently forgetting his massive debt to the Bathory family, seizes a significant portion. Thurzó, as a reward for his discreet handling of the affair, also benefits. Pál fights not for greed, but for the principle of it, for the memory of his father and the honor of a name that is now irrevocably linked to depravity. Every negotiation is a humiliation. Every polite smile from a rival nobleman feels like a sneer. They see him not as Pál Báthory, but as the son of the Blood Countess. He is a walking relic of a horror story, and his inheritance is not land or gold, but shame. He secures a fraction of his family's former power, just enough to survive, but the glory is gone forever, replaced by notoriety. Years pass. The Countess dies in her walled-up room in 1614. Pál, now a married man and a respected, if somber, lord, rarely thinks of her. He has buried the past under layers of duty and routine. One day, while sorting through old family archives, his fingers brush against a small, wooden chest. Inside are not deeds or treaties, but personal effects. He finds a lock of his own baby hair, tied with a silk ribbon. He finds a small, illustrated book of fables, and on the inside cover, in his mother's elegant script, is a note. For my dearest Pál, may you grow strong and wise. With all my love, mother. He sinks to the floor, the book in his hands. The simple, maternal sentiment is more devastating than any confession. It is a dispatch from a person who seemingly existed, a person he once knew. How could this woman, the one who wrote this loving note, coexist with the monster who froze girls in the snow? The paradox is a fresh wound. The monster was easy to hate, to wall away. The mother is impossible to forget. Pál has a son of his own now, a bright, happy child who knows nothing of the darkness in his bloodline. One afternoon, Pál overhears two servants talking in hushed tones in the garden. They do not see him. They are telling a story to a new kitchen girl, a ghost story to frighten her. It is the story of a cruel countess who bathed in the blood of virgins to stay young. The story is exaggerated, twisted by time and rumor into a dark fairy tale. It has details Pál knows are false. The Iron Maiden, the bloodbaths, sensationalism piled upon the truth. He listens, frozen behind a hedge. His family's private horror has become public folklore. It is a campfire tale, a cautionary story to scare children. He realizes the truth no longer matters. His mother is not a historical figure anymore. She is a myth, a legend of pure evil. And this legend is his son's inheritance. The shame is not just his. It will be passed down, a permanent shadow clinging to the Bathory name. In the final years of his life, Pál is a quiet, reserved man. He has managed to restore some of his family's standing through careful alliances and unimpeachable conduct. He is known as just and fair, almost obsessively so, but a private ritual remains. On the anniversary of his mother's imprisonment, he walks alone to the highest point of his castle. He looks out over his lands, the lands he fought to keep. He is not looking at the fields or the forests. He is looking at his own hands. He sees his father's strength in them, but he also sees his mother's blood running in his veins. He wonders about the nature of evil. Was it a madness? A seed of cruelty that lay dormant? Could it be inherited, like the color of one's eyes or the shape of one's hands? He looks at his hands and feels the immense weight of the blood they carry. Not the blood of victims, but the blood of the perpetrator. His life has not been a quest for power or wealth, but a long, silent, and exhausting battle against his own name. The sun sets, and he remains there, a lonely silhouette against the dying light, forever the son of the Blood Countess.